from next week, that's when City Council will start the work on a huge, big change in Cork City. One of the biggest changes you're going to see in a long, long time. And that is permanent pedestrianisation of many of our streets. And actually starts next week. And I was mentioning that on the air yesterday. We got a good response to it. More and more permanent canopies need to be erected in all of those chosen locations, says John. Where are people going to park to access all of this? If they do it in McCurtain Street, they'll push the traffic onto other roads which can't take the volume, and then the fun will start for all of the residents. Well, we have many multi-stories, where there's a will, there's a way, I suppose. It's going to be good for the city. The City Council deserve great credit for making that decision, says Kevin. Peter says, this will change the whole look and feel of Cork. It will bring it in line with other European cities. It will encourage more and more people back shopping, spending in the city. So incredibly excited about this move and where our city is heading. Yeah, says Peter, it's certainly in the right direction, right? It's all about the people. And I think you need to prioritise people over mechanical vehicles in the city, if at all possible. I suppose you could be looking at more use of buses. We might eventually, at some stage, get some... Like, if we start like this, then ultimately other good things will follow, one will hope, including some kind of rapid light rail system. Why do we have to be the same as every other European country, says Cynthia? And what about people who aren't mobile? Where do we drop them off as consideration be given to them? Just wait and see the traffic jams, and then they will reverse it and go back to normal. And Hugh also says it's not acceptable. There appears to be no plan for parking or ease of access for OAPs and people with disability. 17 streets is just too many. People want to do more than just eat in the city, Bicycles and coffee out in the rain. Ease of access parking like South Mall and Morrison's Island will all be reduced. As in, I don't know how you mean by that. I mean, are you talking about that there will? Yeah, there is a boardwalk going in along the Morrison's Island area, and that will take some parking out. I accept the point if that's what you're making. I've always been a massive fan of car-free, pedestrianised cities. Not sure how outdoor dining will work with the Irish climate, though. That's just, and there's reams of these texts. But I want to get back to our phone calls on this one and just get the perspective actually from Liam Edwards, who's a fine restaurateur down in Kinsale, although it's been closed for quite some time now. He joins me by phone. Liam, good morning.
Good morning, how are you doing?
And I suppose you want to give the thumbs up and congratulate Cork for, getting with the programme.
Yeah, it's a brave move. It's a great incentive. I think what's happening globally is a move towards traffic-free town centres and city centres. So I think Cork has been very, very progressive. There's obviously there's a traffic plan there, I presume, that we haven't seen yet. And
that's the only negativity I'm seeing in text so far is, traffic, accessibility, parking,
Yeah, but I presume they have something in place that they're going to increase the parking around the areas. But I do think it is, and it's not just for hospitality. I think retail will benefit from it as well, So I suppose it kind of brings me on to a town like Kinsale, where, again, last year the council were very proactive. They gave us a temporary closure of streets. But I feel in the last 12 months, it's stalled. Like, we're looking to get temporary closure again this year, but I suppose the big word is temporary, It's very hard to invest on outdoor dining when you're not sure it's going to be year in, year out.
But surely they have some plan in mind, because it's out, say, the likes of Kinsale now will be accessible from Monday. Now, I appreciate that not for food, but at some stage it will be, and it will start with outdoor dining. What is the plan?
Well, the plan, I suppose, is, it's the same as last year, really. They did close off streets last year. They closed off a few streets, and they closed off more streets over the weekend. So, I mean, there is a plan in place, but I suppose what we're crying out for, again, is something like, in a smaller scale of what's happening in Cork City, a permanent closure of roads and a traffic plan for Kinsale that would obviously would close roads. There's a big traffic congestion, but... I think
you get hit with the right bottleneck when you come down past when you come down into Kinsale and say you hook a left for the quay. That you get caught there by Perryville, don't you?
You do, and I think what's happened as well last year, and I think was really evident last year, was because of the staycation and because if you had a fine sunny day, 70% of traffic, busy in all of Kinsale, was 70% of traffic just wanted to get through Kinsale and hit the beaches. And I think, a relief road is the answer to most of the problems here.
I don't know about that. I think even if you did go to the beach, you would still want to go. I mean, I would always want to go through Kinsale anyway, particularly on a beautiful day, and drive down the quays and past the boats and see all the alfresco dining. For me, it's kind of part of the trip.
Yeah, but I suppose if we were 3 screaming kids at the back of the car, and
forgot about them. Are we there yet?
Like, you want to get
You're the practical one, you see, Liam. That's it. I'm the romantic. Anyway, listen, bring it on, says you. Have you a date? Will you be getting in touch with suppliers and staff and things like that? Could be mid-May.
Again, we're just holding tight. I've just seen there recently where the 14-day incident rate in Bandon Kinsale is 0, so there's great positive signs, but it's just we're holding tight. We're waiting for the government to give us the green light, but it is looking like it's outdoor dining first, but indoor dining is where we want to be, It's That's indoor and outdoor is where we want to be. But
that's it.
Hopefully that'll happen at the end of the
Bring it on. Good to catch up. Mind yourself. Looking forward to seeing you all again in Kinsale. Liam Edwards from Edwards in Kinsale. But one of the people who was very much behind the push for al fresco and for outdoors was Paul Montgomery. And Monty, of course, says Clancy's on Princess Street. And we saw the success of Princess Street when it got an opportunity to shine at periods last year. It was a huge hit. Not just the outdoor of Princess Street, but also the roof of Clancy's itself. And he joins me by phone. Paul, good morning.
Morning, Neil.
When does this plan kick in? Because I know they're going to start doing work now on, Oliver Plunkett Street, Cook Street, Caroline Street, Princess Street, things like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting summer for the city because I think last year proved that people actually want to be outside and you don't necessarily need the sunshine to want to sit outside. And we saw that throughout the summer. You saw it yourself, Neil, many times,
Yeah.
And even we had some chairs and tables in Marlborough Street as well. And it literally just took off. I mean, the fact that I remember the morning, the 29th of June, and we were taking down the chairs and tables from the hire company that we got the uniform tables and chairs from. And literally, as we were taking them down off the truck, there were people sitting on them. So it didn't even need advertising. So that, I think, is proof of concept. Claire Nash uses that term so many times, and it is proof of concept that that's what people want to do. So you're not going to force, as we know too well, you're not going to force people to do something that they don't want to do. So the outdoor is here to stay. And people want to eat and drink outdoors as much as practically possible.
How did City Council have such a change of heart when for years they would have been hassling businesses who put out a sandwich board or a table outside the door, and all of a sudden the floodgates have opened? Is that COVID?
I think COVID brought us certain benefits. I mean, there's no doubt, and I've said it many times over the last year, that despite all the hardship COVID has brought business, and in fairness to a lot of people's personal lives, and people got sick and who've died, but COVID has certainly got a rethink going in Cork City. But great credit due to when we wrote to City Council, they absolutely came with us in this, and not alone that. I think to the Gardaí that really made it happen, because I mean our licensing laws are so archaic in Ireland, and they need to be, and it's an issue a lot of people have with them, is that they're so old and archaic that we're not allowed to drink on the streets. I mean that's the reality, and it has to be looked at, and there's bylaws obviously in various cities, but on top of that, it wasn't until our own Sergeant Brian McSweeney and the hierarchy in like Polandmore and Cork, they got involved, and they said under COVID legislation we can let this happen.
Yeah.
And equally then with the fire officer and stuff who have worked with us on this, because it is a tricky situation to get chairs and tables on streets.
So it's cross-party cooperation. But
it is, yeah.
All of those streets and all of those businesses, and then in total there's like 17 of them, will they be charged by council for putting a table and chairs outside?
Ultimately, the answer will be obviously yes, but at the moment they have this initiative last year and into this year. They're saying they're not charging, and obviously, we're not paying rates at the moment either, so because nobody's trading, and ultimately, I guess that's the plan. But I mean, nobody in business will mind paying rates or paying license fees for outdoor dining if you're making a few bob. I mean, that's But I suppose I go back to it again. We wouldn't have survived last year and going into this year if we weren't able to each of our premises on Princess Street, and the diversity was nice on Princess Street because there's 12 different, there's more
food offerings,
than 12, but there's 12 different types of food offering and drink offerings. But that's important. But we wouldn't have survived unless we could take the money we were taking on the street last year, because inside was so. We're lucky in Clancy that we have the rooftop, which has been very successful, and we have 3 different floors. But like, we're going to go into a summer of uncertainty again, but at least with outside. And I think we have to look even beyond the street side of it and to see where we can have, we've seen Kennedy Quay last weekend, which is nice in many ways, but obviously not COVID friendly in many more.
You're referring to take-out pints and take-out drinks. Yeah.
But like, people have found, and Sully said to me during the week, and he's right, people have found a new way of socialising, and they may not want to go back to a lot of the old ways. So like, if we're going to have a summer of outdoors, we want to get indoors going, but if the sign says you can't be indoors, then the government are going to follow that. And then we need to be able to license places that people can actually have a drink and food outdoors.
So I know how Princess Street will look, because we've seen it from last year, but give us an idea as to how, say, the long street of Oliver Plunkett Street would look. I mean...
Well, I think it has been a wish of Simon Coveney and more for years, and City Council, that, that Oliver Plunkett Street would be the flagship street for Cork and Ireland that would be ideally suited to be covered. But I mean, the investment in that would be absolutely enormous.
No, and that would be... But it already is pedestrianised, so how's it going to be different?
It is. Well, there's a big difference between pedestrianised, and we have to allow for mobility and for access for people. And just you've been on your show, and I'm involved with the guide dogs and minding dogs, and I know what it's like if people are trying to get, and we have to have the footpaths and stuff right. But the issue really is overall, the pedestrianised, as you rightly said, we've always been pedestrianised. It's dining on the street is the issue, right? So if businesses are going to make money and going to survive with the outside, we need the chairs and tables. So the success of Princess Street, in my view, is that people can use the centre of the street for the dining, and you leave the access for pedestrians and mobility on the footpath. So
that means that, say, for Oliver Plunkett Street would be pedestrianised on both sides, but with table and chairs all the way down the spine.
Well, if you think of it, right, the footpaths particularly are superb on Oliver Plunkett Street because they're flush with the roads. I mean, we have more difficulties on Princess Street, and eventually we hope that will be resolved when the investment is available to put into it. And I think that's the desire. Like, I get mixed up now whether we're upper or lower, but if you take the other side of Princess Street, it's flush as well, and in many ways then that becomes easier because you can have, and Caroline Street is similar, that I think the streets are flush with the footpaths. Now that's a nice scenario because you can have a good wide footpath at both sides and you're not just limited to the 3 or 4 feet that's there. So like Oliver Plunkett Street in many ways is ideal because you have one wide street, so you can take up as much as you need for both footpaths to both sides. And that solves the mobility issue, I think, largely. And like all of us are agreed on that people who are disabled or who have dogs or who want to have their bikes, even if they dismount the bikes, there needs to be access. Now we have crossings on the street, obviously in Princess Street as well,
Okay, so this work starts Monday, actually, doesn't it? Lag and Ashfeld move into Caroline Street, Pembroke Street, Oliver Plunkett, Cook Street, Maida Street. They're resurfacing, is it?
Yeah, like we did. So Lagan did in the fall of last year. Our street was done because the City Council facilitated of resurfacing the whole street. But before that, they did installations for the parasols that you're going to see visible now from, please God, May sometime when we're allowed open. Yeah. So there was a lot of work done. I mean, there was several weeks' work involved in that, and to run electricity. So, I mean, I think Princess Street will be 5-star in, the way it's gone because a lot of the work has been done. We've been at that for 12 months now, continuous, So if you're going to there's going to be different, I suppose, stars and different standards depending on what work can be done. But I think every street obviously can't be done to that level, but it will make a big difference if the street surface is really good, like it is. And City Council has done a great job in that. But I mean, there's going to be different levels, obviously, all over the city. Like every street won't be able to be closed down like Princess Street was. Now, luckily, it was closed down during the last lockdown, and that work was done. But streets are going to be open, and businesses are going to be open from in the coming weeks. So,
but they've got to get this work done fast. If, say, for instance, society starts to reopen in early May.
Yeah, I mean, like we know all about it in December when we were reopening. The works were just about finishing up, and we had a panic attack ourselves in the businesses when we saw the Harris fencing was up, but work had to be finished, and we had to work with council to make sure it was finished.
Okay. So so we are reimagining Cork and it's great. But just on a personal note, have you any plans for when you are opening with regards to, outdoor dining and indoor dining? How long people will be able to sit? Do they have to have a meal? Yeah. How many can sit together? You're looking at all that?
Well, I'd be very hopeful that, I'd be very positive about even the outdoor side, because, from our businesses, certainly Princess Street is huge. We've Marlborough Street at the other side, which is going to be pedestrianised for the vast majority of the day and night. We have a rooftop. There's a lot of facilities in Cork, and there's more. And, I think all of us that are in business at the moment are gearing up for that, to say, right, okay, we have our diary systems, our res diary systems, we have our booking systems. We're back training staff at the moment, so we're doing courses at the moment, and so we can tell the public that we are gearing up to be open as soon as we get the green light. We're going to be open, we're going to be serving. And I think food and drink is a combination.
But you don't see any of this €9 meal thing coming back, no?
I don't, but I genuinely think, Neil, that food and drink, it's a new way of socialising. People are going to, people enjoy that to a large degree, I mean, there was reasons for bringing that in, and Neffet wanted that. But to a large degree, if people are booking, if you're going online and you're booking a table inside Clancy's, a lot of people want that experience. They want some sort of food. And if you're going up to the rooftop and you're having the Italian pizza style offering, or you want to be downstairs and you want your fish and chips.
Will people be on the clock, do you think?
People will, again, if we're limited to space, I mean, the clock suits both sides. I mean, the clock suits the business as well as it suits maybe the government side, in that if we are to facilitate, different bookings and facilitate as many people as possible, and to be fair to customers, if you can't get a 9 o'clock sitting and you can get a 7 o'clock sitting, at least you're getting out socially with your 2 or 3 friends. So that's not a bad start. If that has to be the case, we prefer not. But if that's the way it has to be, that worked very well for us before. And again, we didn't have cases of COVID. We're very lucky. Yeah. Nearly all the people in our street. And I think we can run this successfully, and we'll certainly be pushing for, all the mood music at the moment is that outdoor is a winner, outdoor is safe, and then maybe indoor for people that have the vaccines. But I certainly would be hopeful now with the way the rollout is happening that we will have outdoors and indoors before long.
So one last question then. So somebody has a vaccine and has had 2 doses of the vaccine. Will they present something at the door of a pub or a gastropub, is it?
Well, the good thing is you're coming in with a booking anyway. You're meeting someone in reception. We were doing temperature checks before. We're checking in. So if that's the rule that comes in, that you have to have a COVID passport and for indoor dining, and you have that, well then by all means bring it on. We'll manage that situation if it happens.
You wouldn't anticipate any disquiet between both sections of society, the vaccinated and the non?
But the reality of it is we're getting used of new rules all the time, Neil. We get used to that rule as well. And right. I mean, it's only a matter of time, whether it's August or September, that the whole adult population is vaccinated. So, but I would say anything that gets us open, get us open. None of us want to be out on COVID payments and drawing benefits from the state. We all just want to open and trade as soon as it's safe. We really do. So, and particularly outdoors. I mean, there's huge opportunities around Cork City, and I'm talking to City Council at the moment about different opportunities for big areas that we could be outdoors. And if that's what gets people out safely, and we can license and run areas, let's do it. Don't just wait for sometimes we're waiting too much for things to happen. We've got to make things happen in the city, and that's I think evident of what has happened with the streets. Cork City has made things happen, and it will be an enjoyable place to eat and drink this summer.
Okay, good to have you on. Have a good weekend, Monty. Thanks for taking the call.
The voice of Cork, Neil Prendeville. Weekdays 9 to midday, Cork's Red FM.